first app I'm going to show you is a program called TiltBrush by Google. This app allows you to paint and draw in 3 dimensions inside virtual reality. So it's a really fun and useful tool and exciting new way for art students to create interesting new pieces of artwork, for teachers to use as an interactive 3D whiteboard, as a way to have virtual art exhibitions. There are lots of different interesting possibilities for this tool. So once I've loaded up the menu, I can choose to create a new sketch, or I can view some sketches so you can take a look at kind of what people have created inside a virtual world. And I'll show you one of these just so you can get an idea of exactly the level of detail. So as you can see, you can create quite complex, quite detailed, quite beautiful pieces of artwork that feel very immersive, that feel very different to anything that's kind of sort of happened or come before. So it's a really exciting tool, I think, for artists and designers. This tool is available on the Oculus Store for about £15 to £20, I believe. And obviously, as a teacher, if you are an admin, then you can then sort of buy that, and then that can be shared with other people who log into that device at one time, as I mentioned earlier on. To give you an idea of kind of exactly how it works, it's really simple, really hands-on. So it's really like a 3D version of Photoshop. So I'm going to clear this sketch, and I'll give you an idea of what it's like. So as you might have seen, if I press the 2 side buttons here and move my hands in or move my hands out, I can resize the area that I'm inside at the moment. So let's make it quite big. On my left hand controller is my control panel, and I can use the left and right hand side of my joystick to flip around and see different options. So here I can pick different brushes. So in this case, I've got sort of like a light stick brush. I can pick a colour, and then I can use the trigger button on my right hand side controller to actually draw things. If I don't like it, then I can use the bottom button on my left hand controller to undo, and I can use the left and right hand side joystick to make my brush bigger or smaller. So let's change my brush and try something different. This doesn't have to be for 3D artworks. This could be to create almost like a 3D whiteboard to explain a concept. So for example, if you're a science teacher or a geography teacher, or any teacher where you might explain a process through a diagram, you can take advantage of TiltBrush to use it almost like a 3D whiteboard tool. As you can record things, you can potentially record yourself drawing something or making objects or models in 3 dimensions, and then share them on a PC or a tablet or via students' phones so they can get a new idea or a new way of seeing things. And later on I'll show you how you can actually use this tool in a collaborative way, where you can have multiple people inside the same room at once, working on one piece of artwork or working on a singular project. So there's quite a lot of different brushes here, really for your own exploration. Colour wheel is fairly self-explanatory. We have an eraser as well. Anything that falls inside this curve here, I can grab and it will delete. You can change the environment. You can teleport. So So with this idea, it allows you to move around the space without actually having to necessarily move around yourself. So again, I'll just turn around and teleport back to the pad here. Down here are options to save sketches or delete them, and you can also upload these to the cloud to save in different spaces as well. So if I just draw an example piece again, in this case I'm just going to do a bit of a squiggle. I have got the option to upload it to different places. So for example, I can upload it to a Sketchfab account online, and then anyone can see my 3D model online and can move it around, see it from different angles, and even view it in augmented reality. So it allows you to kind of quite easily share your artwork, share your drawings, share your 3D whiteboard with other groups of people quite easily as well. Here you can also log in with certain accounts, so you can log into a Sketchfab account or you can log into your Google account. And then there's also an advanced mode here as well, which adds a few more features to the control panel. So I would say get started in a basic mode, but then you can kind of move up to more advanced methods later on. But one thing that's really exciting about the advanced mode is these extra objects that appear here. So one of these is guides, which allows me to bring in different 3D models that I can build stuff off. So in this case, I could bring in a capsule, and then I could use this capsule to kind of sort of paint on or design things around. So a capsule may not seem that useful, but if I had a circle and then I use the two side buttons to resize it and move it up here, I could also add another capsule, which I then resize and reshape and move it here. Just twist my view around a little bit. As you can see, I can quite quickly create almost like a 3D life-size model of someone. So, because I'm getting quite small, it can be a little bit fiddly. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. In this case, I think I'll change those arms to legs. But what this allows me to do is I can even use this as a 3D prototype for maybe something like modelling or fashion design. So let's try duct tape. Let's change the colour to something like this. And then I can use this to kind of sort of almost paint on a design that I think might work. So suddenly something that you think might just be an interesting app for drawing has potential uses for lots of other things, like designing new clothes, thinking up different models. So in this case, I can either draw onto the object directly, or if I go a little bit further away, I can then add things around it as well. So in this case, I'm not really sure what I am creating. A bit of a superhero with a cape, I think. But hopefully you can get the idea of how this technology could potentially be used inside different sectors. Under more options here, there's also some experimental features, which allow me to do other things as well. So for example, I can export what I've created as a 3D object, which I can then use in other programs. I can bring in different types of media as well. So in this case, I've got a pre-prepared FabLab logo that I designed earlier that I can bring in. I also happen to have some pictures. And this allows me to almost create like a virtual exhibition or a virtual mood board of designs, thoughts and intentions before I actually create something. So you could use this to kind of sort of give you ideas about what you're going to create or what you're going to draw if you're an art student. Or you could use it to maybe showcase lots of different pieces of artwork together all in one go and create something bigger. So some interesting uses of this program. And this really just kind of scratches the surface. Obviously in the hands of someone a little bit more creative than myself, the opportunities are endless. So that's a quick run through of TiltBrush. TiltBrush, as I mentioned, is available for about sort of £15 from what I remember on the Oculus Quest store. Recently, Google did decide to make this program open source. Open source means that it's free and anyone can edit it or change it and kind of add what they like to it. So there are actually now free versions of TiltBrush that you can get hold of as well. And one of them that's recently come onto the Oculus Quest store is something called Multibrush. So if I open up Multibrush, as you'll see, it seems very similar to Google, but obviously it's just had the Google branding taken off it. But in terms of what you can see in front of me, it looks very similar to kind of what I've just been kind of going through. The only difference with this app is that it's completely free to download. There's no cost involved to kind of access this app or its features. So again, I can select a similar tool, I can select a similar color, and I can paint and draw as before. With this app, it is a little bit more experimental because it's not supported by Google, but it does allow you to access a lot of the same similar features. There doesn't seem to have any apps around being able to upload to accounts like Sketchfab or Google at the moment. But one of the things that this app is quite good for is it does allow for a multiplayer experience. So the advantage of something like this is that if you're in a classroom or you want to do an interactive 3D activity with yourself and a group of students, you can use the multiplayer mode to not only kind of have yourself in this space, but have up to 11 other people in the same space at once, creating something together collaboratively. So that could be a piece of artwork, it could be kind of a interactive mood board, it could be a 3D design for something, or it could even be like a brainstorming or ideation space where instead of having a 2D whiteboard and giving people lots of pens, you're giving people 3D pens and they can draw wherever they want and come up with lots of ideas. And then as a result, you can then all review the different ideas as a group and then maybe share that 3D model online afterwards so that people can have a look at what you've thought up or what you've created or what you've designed as a result. So it's not just an art tool. I think there could be lots of exciting and interesting uses for this program within lots of different fields and lots of different subjects. But if you fancy a free tool, then I'd more than recommend Multibrush. However, do be aware that it's still in beta and a few of the features are still being developed from the main Google version at the moment. So if you want something that's free, I would definitely recommend Multibrush. But if you want something that's guaranteed to work, I'd recommend the Google download, particularly if you go into a lot of effort to making a design. You want to make sure that you're going to be able to export it okay, and there aren't going to be any other problems there. So this wraps up my tutorial of Google TiltBrush and Multibrush. Next, we'll be looking at a program called Gravity Sketch, where you can create 3D models and 3D objects for things like computer-aided design and manufacturing.